everybody connect for a second. Okay, so today is December 7th, 2020, and I'm going to call our meeting to order. If I could ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll.
Mr. Glasbach?
Here.
Mr. Hildebrand?
Here.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Here.
Mrs. Lima? Here. Mr. Mather?
Here.
Mrs. Schott? Thank you.
Thank you. So before we move on, I just want to really quickly take a second to first of all welcome our new members who were just sworn in at the Town Council meeting. And I want to take a second to thank two people in particular, one of which is Robert Jones, who has served for, was it 8 years, right, on the school committee, and has been an absolute, I don't even entirely know the words, an unbelievable member of this committee. The amount of time and expertise that he brought to our meetings, both in public sessions and behind the scenes, it was a huge help to everyone and a real service to the town of North Kingstown. So Bob, you're very, very missed. As they mentioned, if anyone watched the council meeting, normally this would be a point when we'd all be able to be together, and we do have a gift for Mr. Jones that I can either drop off or we'll figure out how to get to you just as a small token of our appreciation and thank you. And I also want to thank Hannah Zingari. It is not a small thing to throw your hat in the ring in the public and run for public office. And this particular election year is certainly not a regular one, and she had some ups and downs that we normally don't see. And I hope it doesn't discourage you from continuing a potential political career, whether it's on a board, a commission, or running for public office again, because it's really something for somebody to do that, and I want to thank you very much for running. So thanks again to both of you. Next, we have some formalities. This is our biennial annual meeting, which happens every 2 years as the new terms of members begin. So the first thing we need to do is I'm just going to mention, pursuant to our policy, I'm running this meeting as not the chair, but as the currently longest serving school committee member. So that's why I run this meeting at this point. If someone had more seniority than me, they would do that until a chair was elected. So our first order of business is we need to elect a chair. So at this point, I would ask if anyone has any nominations for a chairperson.
I'd like to nominate Greg.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any other nominations?
Third.
All right. Hearing no other nominations, I would ask for a vote. So we'll do a roll call vote on this. Ms. Healy, if you could.
Mr. Glasbach?
Yes.
Mrs. Hildebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Yes.
Mrs. Lima?
Yes.
Mr. Mather?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. So now I'm sitting here as the chair of the committee again, and we need to have a vice chairperson. So I ask if anyone has any nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Lisa Hildebrand.
Okay. Any other nominations?
Second that nomination.
Okay, then I would ask for a vote on that nomination. So all those in favor of Lisa Hildebrand as vice chair?
Aye.
We'll do a roll call again, sorry.
Ms. Glasbach?
Yes.
Mrs. Hildebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Yes.
Mrs. Lima?
Yes.
And Mr. Mather?
Yes.
Okay, Lisa, congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Quick rules in case I'm not around someday.
Oh, I already have one.
Oh, good for you. All right, well done.
I've had it for a while.
Next we have, because again, this is a different meeting than most, there's some housekeeping things that we need to do. So So I'm going to make a motion, that is an important one. So I'm going to make a motion that we authorize the superintendent, Dr. Phil Auger, and the chief operating officer, Mary King, to sign all documents, including special funds, and Steve Janelle, the controller, to sign bills, purchase orders, vouchers, and warrants.
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Hoskins. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And I'm going to make an appointment, make a motion to appoint Amy Healy as school committee clerk.
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Hoskins. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Healy, congratulations again. And so now just some housekeeping things. In your agenda packets, we had just a listing of the currently adopted school committee calendar. So those are when our meetings are going to be over the next remainder of the school year. COVID has thrown some wrenches in some of those meetings, and we've moved things around or had some special meetings here and there that may have to continue, but those are the regularly scheduled meetings, so you should all have those in your calendar and be ready to attend on those days. Next in your packet is a section from the Attorney General's Guide to the Open Meetings Law and Open Government and his 2020 Summit materials. Especially new members, but even old members should take a look at all the documents that are in there with respect to the open meetings law. And I think I've mentioned to people, but before COVID, there's always a seminar that the Attorney General puts on that's usually even live streamed. It's a very, very good seminar, particularly the open meeting section for all school committee members. So when they do that again, it's usually in the spring, early summer. I'd encourage you to attend that, however it's put on. And next is section C under the review. That is a copy of the Rhode Island General Law entitled Powers and Duties of the School Committee. Everything that we do exists because of that statute. That is the statute that gives us the authority and says specifically what we have authority over. It was amended recently in January to actually make some major changes to how we approve appointments by the superintendent with respect to teachers and things like that. So it does change occasionally, but that is what all of our authority is based on. So it's important for you to at least take a look at that so that you understand how it is that we do what we do. So that we have that. Next we have citizens' comments, as we do on every agenda. So I would ask anyone who wants to comment to please leave your comments to 3 minutes, just so that we can keep our meeting rolling along, and that you state your name and address for the record. Anyone who wants to speak can do so by clicking in the participants tab and pushing the raise your hand button, and I will see that. And so right now I have one, and that's Joe Vento. So Mr. Vento, I will recognize you for 3 minutes, if I can find the button. Sorry, give me a second. There you go.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to speak a little bit about the role of the student representative and the transition to the new student representatives. The past 4 years serving as a student representative have been extraordinary. I have learned much about local education authorities, town government, and how the NKSD stands out from other districts. It has been a pleasure to work with members of the committee, you, Mr. Chair, Ms. Hoskins, Ms. Hildebrand, Mr. Mather, and members of the administration, Dr. Auger, Ms. King, Dr. Mansteri, Dr. Morse, and Mr. Anderson. I've gotten to discuss a broad range of topics, including school safety, sustainability, facility upgrades, and school committee policy and district start times with all of you. All of these issues are issues that students in our high school are passionate about. And on a number of those topics, we were able to make some advances that benefited the student body, our school community, and our education. Each one of you has pushed me, challenged me, and I will be forever grateful. I'm grateful for the knowledge I have gained, and I'm certain I'll be able to put it to good use down the road. I remain confident that the new student representatives, Jacob Cedar and Owen Grace, will be fantastic student representatives and will represent the student body very, very well. They're the first representatives in recent history to be elected to the roles of the Student Union President and Vice President. This successful election process featured an ever-expanding number of students involved in our organization voting for their student leaders. As I stated at the previous meeting, it is so important to include students in the decision-making process. Students, teachers, and administrators working together will be crucial to building an even better school department. I'm glad that last week the committee voted to keep students at the table, and I'm confident that the new school committee will be very interested in involving these new representatives and other student activists throughout their terms. Over the past 4 years, the district and town have witnessed tremendous growth in student activism at the local level. And it's my hope that this movement perpetuates and that student interest in municipal affairs keeps growing and growing and growing. And as it does, great things will happen to our school department. Thank you all. I'll miss you, and I wish each and every one of you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Anyone else like to make a citizen's comment? Okay, I don't see any more, so we will move on. So next item are routine items. I'd ask for a motion to approve the executive...
Superintendent's report.
Oh, sorry, I jumped. My apologies. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Superintendent's report. Dr. Ojek.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to spend a little time tonight just kind of reiterating the points that I made from my letter last week to the community. The state of COVID in our state and in North Kingstown, community spread is growing. We all see this in the news right now, not only in Rhode Island, but our nation. And it's got us concerned. Just tonight, I noticed on the evening news that both Cranston and Situate have declared to go to DL for a pretty long period, till at least after the Christmas break. So right now, North Kingstown is not at that point. As I mentioned in my letter, we are seeing a number of cases around the school. For the most part, they are not cases where COVID is spread in the school. And that has to do a lot with when a case is identified, there's an immediate response from the Department of Health, coordinating with the school department to, isolate those folks as best we can and to quarantine them. But that means that there are a number of people missing in in-person classes in terms of our students, and we coordinate to get them, a distance learning regimen going. But when it's a staff member, and whether that has to do with, like I said, in most cases, that has not been a spread in school, but if they need to quarantine because of a family member or another relationship that they may have, that means that this 14 days where they're not going to be available to come into work. And it is definitely, for us as well, stretching our staff thin at all of our schools. Not sure how long we can maintain that, but so far so good. And I credit, our staff for, prioritizing, being in and being safe, and also our principals for really, doing a lot to coordinate, to be creative about staffing, and to make sure that we're, getting the work done. And so far, very happy with the results. So we took I guess the governor's word is a pause, where we went to distance learning for the high school for 8 days. That had to do with, a large number of students needing to quarantine, also a large number of staff needing to quarantine, either because they were currently testing or there were a couple of positive cases, and plenty of quarantining all the way around. And so that got us concerned. We wanted to, get back ahead of this. So a week from today, the high school plan is that we will get back to in-person learning at North Kingstown High School. That being said, I just do not know, what cases are going to be like in Rhode Island and in North Kingstown in the next few weeks. So we're going to keep an eye on it. I just want the public to know that I regularly attend meetings with our Superintendent's Association, and those meetings often include, leadership from the Department of Education and Rhode Island Department of Health. So there's a regular input from those agencies helping us to get this done, and so a lot of attention is being paid to this, and so under what circumstances would we go to distance learning if that were the case? Well, if we start witnessing cases where transmission is happening in school, or like at the high school with a lot of quarantining from a good segment of the population, particularly the staff, we, like those communities that are shutting this week, we're worried about staffing. And if too many staff need to be quarantining, we may have periods where we're going to have to do some, go to distance learning for a week or two to get back caught up and get people off of quarantining. So I just want people to, a lot of people have asked me, what are the conditions and what would be the point where we would be looking to go to distance learning. And I hope that I have answered those questions. If you do have more questions, please feel free to call my office or send me an email. I'm happy to talk about this with anybody, and letting you know that we continue to work on this. I feel, fairly confident that we're going to continue with in-person learning in North Kingstown. With that being said, there are a lot of forces beyond my control. So one thing I know for sure is that we're going to make decisions with our kids and our staff safety in mind. That's going to be the top priority. So that's all I have for the superintendent's report tonight, Mr. Blaswell. Thank you.
Thank you. So next is where I was a minute ago. I asked for a motion, and just to point out, because this agenda is set up a little different than usual because it's not a regular meeting, so there's no consent agenda, so we'll take these items one at a time, and members who weren't present can just abstain from the vote. First, I'd ask for a motion to approve the executive session minutes of November 17th, 2020.
Moved.
Second from, no, let me get this, I'm a little out of whack tonight. Motion from Ms. Hildebrand, I need a second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Mather. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? Ms. Healy, you have that? Thank you. And I need a motion to approve the business meeting minutes of November 17th, 2020.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Hildebrand.
Second.
Second from Mr. Mather. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions?
Jane.
Thank you. Next, we have the North Kingstown School Department's 2021 strategic plan. Dr. Ajay, do you want to speak briefly on that? And
Sure. I'd actually ask Dr. Mansiri. Dr. Mansiri, as the assistant superintendent, leads our process for the strategic plan, and I've asked her to kind of talk about the process and kind of summarize the major components of this year's strategic plan.
Everybody, so Dr. O'Jay sent the strategic plan to you last week before this meeting. And so what I thought I would do, I know it's a quick meeting, I just give you some highlights from it, and if anybody wants further details, I'd be happy to send them along. So the process is yearly, it's annually, and somewhere in late August, we normally have our administrative retreat. And on the second day of the administrative retreat, we meet for face-to-face, and we bring in people from the community and teachers, and that didn't happen this year. It kind of all got blown up. Instead of working on the strategic plan, we had to work on COVID plans that were put in our schools, so we got delayed. And so this year, the meeting happened virtually on September 11th. We divided up as we normally do. We asked people to take on one of the goals. It's 5 goals. And number 1 is larger goal because we talk about academics. And then we have 2 and 4 that go together, and mostly cultural. And then we have 3 and 5, which is based on budget and fiscal responsibility. So at that day, what we ended up doing is we were still able, thanks to our IT department, we had some breakout rooms. We were able to move out and work on what they wanted to do. We had some time spent when we came back together. So I thought I would just highlight a few of the areas. Goal number one is all about rigorous academics. And most of you know that last year I presented to you on the Rhode Island General Assembly legislation to have high quality curriculum in all schools in the state of Rhode Island by 2023. So we're fortunate because our Bridges curriculum at the elementary level is already a green high quality curriculum. So we engaged in a year-long process from K to 8. A team of 6 people and a larger team that came across, and I'll be going into detail in January on that process. But the great news was we were able to get high quality curriculum, and because there was a team of people, we were able to secure a grant of over $300,000, and also the town and the school committee, or the school committee, I should say, the school department, put in about the same amount of money over the next few years to make sure this is rolled out correctly. So we have an implementation of, it's called EL curriculum, and it's a LearnZillion platform. And that is how the students can access it online, which is very helpful in this virtual world. If anybody does any studying, there's implementation dip on the first year of the curriculum, but the teachers in grades 6, 7, and 8 are committed. We have 27 teachers that were signed off and committed to doing the work, to doing all the professional learning, everything needs to happen. And we also were able to secure a high quality curriculum coordinator to help with this rollout, and as well as the 2 different middle schools and the 3rd over at VA. All the principals are involved in all the training. So under goal 1, we are doing a lot of things with this curriculum. We're also having 2 cohorts this year, one at the elementary level for ELA, and again at the secondary in 6, 7, 8, looking for their math curriculum. And then I'll continue to work with high school with the administrators there. And then ongoing, we're so happy to say we're still doing CS4RI, which is a Governor Lundo initiative, which is computer science for all grades. So we're working on that. We have it at the middle and the high school, and at the elementary we did grade 3 this year, and then this year coming up we'll do 4 and 2. And then we'll spread to people. And then finally, due to COVID, the preschool was not able to get their teaching strategies goal by the end of last year, but at the beginning of this year, we've already acknowledged that at one of our school committee meetings, and that's basically like half the concept. So that's the first goal. I promise to do that. I know I take a little bit of time. So goal number 2, this is about school climate, and one of the things we did right from the get-go this year is to realize that because this pandemic and COVID was affecting so many families, everybody, students all the way, workers, that we made sure we secured a relationship with Bradley Hospital, and we had a series for mental health and SEL during the pandemic. So we had a keynote on the opening day, on the PD day in October, and again in November. We continued with Bradley, and Bradley got a grant that we no longer now have to pay for their services. We are connecting with our personnel office and my office, and we're offering a plethora of different things for not only teachers, but also for their students and for the community. So that's something ongoing in goal number 2. Goal number 3, that is providing modern, high-quality facilities. And happy to say the bond projects were completed. The track, we completed the track, we built windows at TMS, the AC at Quid in the 3rd floor of the high school. We're in our 4th year of the technology strategic plan. 3,000 Chromebooks were ordered. I'm sorry to say that the high school, all the teachers, we're still waiting on their replacements, but 2/3 of our students were replaced. The IT department has done a massive job with getting all of that out to not only the in-school students, but also to our distance learners. The document cameras also that were purchased. That helps the teachers at the secondary level that have to not only teach the students that are in front of them, but also distance learning at the same time. And I don't know if people out there are familiar, but if you're not if you're not a WMS with the HEPA filters and the Windows situation, I cannot say enough things about our teachers and what they've had to do and go through to make sure that their students are going to get an education. And so we're so appreciative for what they're doing and the principals are doing in these schools. And goal number 4, engaging families and community. COVID really did a number on this goal, and there are quite a few things that have been either delayed or canceled. So the state assessments, they were canceled. Our annual report that we send out, it's a beautiful 4-color report, that's been delayed. Our PTSOs were unable to meet in the schools, and they normally are able to come into the school buildings and do a lot of wonderful things. Of course, they still maintain their virtual meetings, but it definitely, we felt that. And the NK Education Foundation is continuing to raise money to get that going for grants to support all of our schools. So we're very appreciative for the Northeast Education Foundation that was created. And finally, goal number 5, fiscally responsible. Another year, the newer members, we continue to receive meritorious budget awards. And we're applying again this year. And I really need to recognize Mary King and her team. And Mary doesn't normally ever want any recognition, so I thought I would do it now because the amount of work that they have done to make sure that we have shifted our expenditure due to COVID and we're getting the money going and working with the school committee to make sure things are being, paid on time and bought is really, I never worry. I always know that Mary and her team have it going. The wind energy certification, that kind of stalled a bit this year at the high school. It looked like it wasn't going to be what they originally was set up to be, and we're moving into this welding, which is very promising. We have 8 students in the community working on that. So that's really it. We're very, and I guess I should say that the committee spent some time on the field trip policy, and we were able to get that this year to make sure that across the school district we had very similar things going on at different schools. And that's where we are. And so this year, again, with the COVID, we're doing our best to take everything that we looked at last year and try to continue on and to make sure as we go through, and I'll be keeping notes. Anybody that wants to add things, we ask them at all the different schools to make sure they're keeping notes so that we can make sure it's a very fluid document. I really am proud of the document because we need to update and we change things around, and we're not afraid to listen to people and their suggestions to make it better. So happy to hear from anybody. If you want to email me or you need some extra information, I'd be happy to provide. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I could at this point get a motion to approve item B1, which is the strategic plan.
So moved.
A motion from Ms. Hildebrand.
Second.
Second from Ms. Hoskins. Any discussion? I want to thank you all for your hard work on that. I mean, obviously, it's a document that doesn't write itself, and it really is a vision and something for us to all look at as we go forward and keep in mind. Remember, everything that we do is done for a reason, and that's a guide for where we plan on going. And hearing all the COVID things, everyone, I think we're all in the same boat that we're hoping that 2021-22 is looking a lot different than the year that we're in right now, and that we can stop treading water and start really getting on with new things. So I'm waiting to see that. So any other comments? Then all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, we come to the school committee and superintendent's goals. For discussion purposes, if I could get a motion to approve item C1.
So moved.
A motion from Ms. Hoskins.
Second.
Second from Ms. Hildebrand. So I just want to make a quick comment, which is this document we've been working on for a couple meetings. We specifically wanted to hold off because it just seemed appropriate with the potential of having new members on the committee to make a vote this close to a change. So, but I think that we're in good shape now. I know that we've all had an opportunity to chime in, and that Ms. Lima even had submitted some comments that were incorporated into this document. So if there's not any objection to doing it, I want to approve tonight what our goals are. We are, as is often the case this year, we're a bit behind. We don't usually approve our goals halfway through the year, but it is not a regular year. So just another example. So any discussion from any members? Okay, then we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And then in the new business, I don't want to make any decisions tonight, but I just wanted to throw out there that we do have subcommittees, and whenever we have, a change, it's an opportunity to look at who is serving on our subcommittees, and we have vacancies due to, members moving on. So the main committee, sorry, I'm looking at my other screen here as we go up. We have a couple standing committees, which are the building committee, which handles our facilities and, construction projects and things like that. CLAC, which is, and I will know most but not all the letters of the acronym, the Special Education Something Advisory. What's the L? Does anyone know? Liaison Advisory Committee, the Wellness Subcommittee, and the Policy Subcommittee. And as it stands at this instant, just so you know who's on them, before we make any changes, the building committee were myself and Mr. Jones. CLAC was Ms. Hoskins, Wellness was Ms. Hildebrand, and Policy was Mr. Jones and Ms. Hoskins. So we obviously, anything that Mr. Jones was on, we need to find someone to take his place. And so just think about it for the next meeting. In January, we'll actually have some votes to shuffle those around. Remember, because the Open Meetings Act, we can't really, say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, so we'll have to take it at the next meeting. But keep that in mind. We can't ever have more than 2 people on any one committee again because of open meetings issues. So just keep that in mind so that we can keep our committees working. And next, we're really towards the end here. So in your packet, we have some reports, which are the cash reconciliation and financial reports. They're there for your information. I don't know if anyone had any questions on anything in there. Oh, and Mrs. King sent me a message that it's local, not liaison. So it's
sorry.
Local advice. So those reports are there for yours and the public's benefit. And at this point, we've reached the end of our regular agenda. We are going to have a executive session at the end. So at this point, I'm going to make a motion that we recess our open session and we convene our executive session for legal advice and litigation pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42462A2. So I made the motion. Second from Ms. Hoskins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. So folks in the audience, we are going to have a brief executive session that we need to send you into the waiting room for. The only item after that will just be to seal our minutes and disclose our votes, which you're welcome to come back in and see, but it's really not very exciting.